Well, we've seen this intense weather in KwaZulu-Natal and in the Eastern Cape. Today is World Environment Day. We've seen those series of intense storms in KwaZulu-Natal, the situation in the Eastern Cape, 2 tornadoes this week, and it appears climate change may be a factor in what we're seeing now. Dr. Lize Barclays is a senior lecturer in systems thinking and future studies at the Stellenbosch Business School. Dr. Barclay, good afternoon to you. We see these huge storms on our coastal cities at the moment. We know in the northern hemisphere in the last 2 years, we've seen record-breaking high temperatures. Is this all about climate change? Is climate change driving this change that we see?
Climate change is one of the massive drivers of what we are experiencing in the world, and it's a systemic issue. As we do land degradation, as we remove some of the topsoil, we will see that even small storms have a massive impact downstream in terms of flooding. So it's got a lot to do with what we as humans have done, but there is hope and we can turn around some of the issues.
You talk about turning around some of the issues. I mean, it's a huge political issue. I mean, in our elections, yes, most of the political parties would have a section in their manifestos on climate, but no one made it the big political issue. I mean, it simply wasn't.
No. In South Africa, we do not have a prominent Green Party as we see in Europe. It is a sideline in many of the manifestos, and that is a problem because whatever happens in the environment does affect the poor increasingly more than the rich, for example. So it is something the party should take very serious note of, because whatever they want to do, the environment could help or hamper.
So we also need to know what happens if we don't change course. And I mean, we see big fights over whether we should use coal-fired power stations or solar-powered fire stations or wind, things like that. And this debate goes on and on. If we don't make major changes, I mean, are we looking at a nightmare scenario, something out of science fiction?
Unfortunately, yes. We have 9 planetary boundaries, and as land use change, climate change, pollution and waste, nature and biodiversity loss, all these things accumulate and could lead to a very, very nasty surprise for us down the line. More and more, your poor areas and sensitive areas, coastal areas, will be very negatively impacted.
So what can we do? You said that there are things that we can do. Are there particular things we can do pretty quickly that would make a change?
Yes, seeing as the theme of World Environment Day today is generation restoration, it is possible. And we can only look at some of the success stories that we've already seen in Kenya and Tanzania. We've seen it in Sahel, the Horn of Africa, Europe, Middle East, where many of the desert situations have been turned around through the planting of trees. Millions of hectares of desert areas have been reclaimed. Forests have been planted where it has been destroyed. Through topsoil management, we can ensure that we do not see the erosion and runoff of water that does lead to downstream flooding. And we have seen that we can do a difference, and even from a systems perspective, small changes by every little person in the world can eventually accumulate to turn around some of the damage we've caused.
It's one of the world's oldest political slogans, think global and act local. Is there anything we could do if, for example, we're able to stop the world's temperature from going up? And there have been arguments about that. The first sort of target was, you know, above nothing above 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now it looks like it's going to be 2, then 3. After that, is there anything we can do to lower the temperature? And I imagine that's very difficult to do.
Yes, it is quite difficult, but we can focus on the urban environment, on our own environment, cooling it down by planting more trees, ensuring that our architecture is more in line with the environment, and also understanding that what energy we use, it is systemic from where it starts to where it eventually ends up, that we have to look at it not just the moment it generates electricity, but the whole process, including ensuring ensuring that we do have topsoil, that we do have more water resources that is protected. So it is possible, small changes in your own house, around your own house or apartment or where you live. Ensure that maybe you plant indigenous trees, have a food garden, get rid of all the surfaces because that leads to a lot of runoff of water, which again ends in the flooding of the areas.
Dr. Lize Barclays, thank you very much indeed. Senior Lecturer in Systems Thinking and Future Studies at the Stellenbosch Business School.